Let me tell you something. Boy, do I miss going to the gym. There is nothing quite like an early morning gym session to really prep you for the beginning of your day. It really is a way to establish a quick win and head downhill the rest of the day with a major accomplishment under your belt. And then there was Corona. Accurately described as COVID-19, the fear and panic inspired in laymen and politicians alike gave us the era of the mandatory house arrest. Quarantine. Closing all establishments where public gatherings were likely to occur. That could include malls, amusement parks, churches, and yes, dear friends, even gymnasiums. Gyms, for heaven's sake, where people purposely put themselves at risk for just the shot at living a healthier life. Well, as you know, with the bad comes the good. And as the nation and world slowly wakes from the self-induced slumber, and as gyms open up the world over, maybe, just maybe, we'll all be better off for it. I'm going to explain why in this upcoming video. So be sure to like this video and drop a comment on how you plan to be healthier both financially and physically as the whole world reopens. What's up, you guys? You're watching BTP Fusion. I'm your host, Derek West, seasoned lead software engineer, online business protege, and all-around lovable, fun-loving good guy. On BTP Fusion, it's our mission to inspire you to take imperfect action on your business and personal finances through the power of technology. Join us in that mission by hitting the subscribe button and clicking the notification bell so that you are alerted when more great content from us comes your way. Have you ever experienced something in your life that was unexpected and bad at the same time that simply devastated you? I mean, just devastated you. Something as simple as getting rejected by someone you cared about. Maybe missing out on a job that you thought you had in the bag. Perhaps tragically losing a pet or a loved one way too early. We all experience loss in our lives. As a matter of fact, we will all experience great loss in our lives. We will lose people that are dear to us. We will miss out on opportunities that we thought were a sure thing. But in every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. There is a ray of hope leading you to a brighter and sunnier day. To me, that is kind of what this whole Corona-induced crisis is and has become. A dark cloud over the whole world. Though, if you look closely, you can see shining through a beam of light leading us to a brighter tomorrow. And that brighter tomorrow is approaching faster and faster. As we speak, political officials of all kinds are at least entertaining the ideas of opening back up their economies. Some are pushing back, but the idea is being brought forth. Some are even actually doing it. Georgia, Texas, several Midwest states, some northeastern states have all begun the process of allowing their citizens to resume their normal lives. But like I've talked about on this channel before, the economy will never be the same again. Likely, our lives will never be the same again. For certain, demand for certain goods and services is never going to be the same. Leisure travel on cruise ships, via airplanes, and in amusement parks will likely be curtailed by the now fearful populace. The populace is now fearful of getting a disease that they will not be able to recover from. And if they do recover from, be permanently scarred from. So too, I fear, may be the fate of gyms. Gymnasiums, as I love to phrase it. Will people be willing to congregate at gyms, places that are known to be harbingers of bacteria and other biohazards? Places where it's almost a requirement to touch metal surfaces that may or may not have been properly sanitized, all for the sake of tuning your body to its absolute physical peak, the vainest of possible motivations. The answer, I fear, may be no. But for the first time in my life, I think that maybe, just maybe, I'll be okay with that. For someone like me, that is sort of a big deal. Let me go into a little bit of personal history to help explain why. You see, I wasn't always the muscle-bound Adonis that you see before you. Where did that laugh track come from? Anyway, at one point in my life, I was a proverbial 95-pound weakling. I recall a couple of specific instances where I was targeted and bullied and literally couldn't do anything to protect myself. Luckily for me, I happened to be within earshot of people who could protect me. But it was a serious wake-up call nonetheless. The realization was that I was either going to be at the mercy of people with, let's just say, less than stellar intentions, or I was going to find a way to learn to protect myself and become a protector against those who would intend to do harm. Okay, so I was influenced by a ton of Batman and Spider-Man cartoons in the 90s. It wasn't really that bad. It was just a couple of knuckleheads who were looking to make a point and impress their girlfriends or whatever. Still, I needed to make sure that I could hold my own on the tough, mean streets of suburban Pittsburgh. And thus, my quest to improve my body in any way possible began. It started by just doing push-ups, bodyweight squats, anything I could do to just get my heart rate going. It then evolved to purchasing dumbbells, starting with 10 pounds, then 15, eventually 30. Before I realized it, I was simply not moving enough weight to be effective. And before I knew it, I was thinking about joining my local gym. Now, of course, it was intimidating at first. Football players, basketball players, baseball players, all seemingly, in my young mind, jacked like crazy. What's funny is if I look back at pictures now, I realize that they weren't really all that buff. But in my mind as a youngster, they were. And also in my young mind, my feeling was I was probably gonna get laughed at and made fun of. And in certain instances, I was. And let me tell you something else. I was terrible at lifting weights for the first couple of weeks. I remember getting pinned on the bench press for like 95 pounds. Yep, it was absolutely pathetic. Now, I could have given up. I decided that, you know what? Nothing worth attaining is ever easy. And if I was gonna make progress, I needed to stay within myself. Do not try to show off. Start light, do what I could do, and improve from there. And within a matter of weeks, it worked. It worked really well. The noob gains came fast and furious, and before I knew it, I was well on my way to a muscle-bound physique that I maintained for lo these many years. Who keeps firing out that laugh track? That is until COVID-19. At first, I really didn't think much of this pandemic. I still don't, to tell you the truth. But the consequences of the shutdown and the mandated house arrests are real, let me tell you. The economic damage is just now being tallied. Some estimate that the decisions made during this crisis will end up costing the world economy 25% of its GDP. Some say more, some say less. I think everybody agrees it's going to be significant, but nobody really knows, and there's only really one way to find out. But the toll on my physical fitness has been immense. Well, let me just say that the first 2 weeks I figured I would just take off. Surely everything would be opened up by then, right? No, wrong. And what's more, prices of weight sets had gone through the roof. I could afford to pay the price, but the logistics of getting them to my place was simply a nightmare. I'm still waiting on some weights to come to my place from Amazon. I mean, what options did I have? I could simply stop working out and train myself to not exert myself physically. I could find a way to purchase some black market weights and equipment and set up my own home gym. More on that in a moment. Or I could go back to basics again, stay within myself, find a way to get in the work I needed to get in to at least maintain a little bit of physical fitness. I chose the latter. Side note, I did know some people that set up little black market gyms in garages and were charging people to use their weights. I'm not gonna rat them out, but that was actually a pretty baller move. However, I wasn't into that as they were always crowded and I assumed that the situation was extremely unsanitary. I decided home gym workouts and bodyweight exercises plus whatever I could find including weight bands would be the way to go. And let me tell you, weight bands are the worst. As they always degrade faster than chains and weights and things like that. And they end up snapping in your eye and making you wish you never used them. In addition to that, I decided to challenge myself and begin to run seriously for the first time in my entire life. Let me say it reminded me of the first time when I first started going to the gym. The progress that I made was flat out embarrassing. I was lucky if I could run 900 yards on some days without stopping. But it was like going to the gym and being pinned under those light weights. I had to decide to stay within myself, do what I could do, and strive to improve the next time. And before I knew it, during this quarantine, I went from barely running 1,000 yards without stopping to running over 2.5 miles with room to spare. And I already have ideas and plans on how I can improve my times and my distances. It's gonna take a while and a commitment, including investing in myself to actually accomplish this. And also remembering to stay within myself and doing what I can do and striving to improve on each try. And before I know it, I'm positive that I can at least become a decent daily runner, making it that much easier to eat terrible food because my diet is trash. But what does this have to do with financial fitness, you may ask? Well, it's sort of the same thing. There was a time in my financial life when I didn't invest at all, and I barely had anything saved. I would spend every dollar I got the second I got it. I simply couldn't find ways to save, and I couldn't find the discipline to save. Until one day I realized, hey, I'm in my late 20s and I have nothing to show for all my efforts. It again started with me making a decision to stay within myself and to improve iteratively. I talk quite a bit about the order of operations of wealth creation. I talk about it because it's powerful in its simplicity. If you keep the items in mind, you at least know what you have to do. I came up with this system based on my personal experiences. Get a skill, become the best at that skill. Save. Invest. Each step along the way is not easy. They're all simple steps. They're easy to understand concepts, but they're not easy to execute. Getting a skill is not easy, particularly if you're in a place where you feel you have no skills. I've been there. Millions of people have been there, including billionaires who have and are now running billion-dollar companies that sell goods and services to people across the globe. It all starts somewhere. It starts by keeping within yourself, figuring out what it is you like to do, figuring out a skill around that thing that people are willing to pay for. Tackle the simple pieces of it first and then build from there. A lot of people make the mistake that you have to go to university to do this, or even to take an online course. You don't. You need to put down Snapchat and focus for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes at a time. Really think about the skill you're trying to master and execute it. Fail at it a few times. Figure out what you did wrong and then try again. This time, try and get it right. Before you know it, after spending time doing that, you will have a skill that is marketable. And you can then use that skill to get cold hard cash. Once you get that cash, you gotta save it. But don't save it just to have a nice round number in your bank account. Yes, an emergency fund is important, especially in times like these, but you need to save so you can begin to invest. And investing becomes really powerful when you have a good chunk of money consistently growing and compounding on itself. But it all starts from somewhere. Even the largest fortunes start out as tiny little savings accounts. And before you know it, if you're paying attention, all of a sudden you're building momentum, saving and investing, and also improving your physical fitness, all by staying within yourself, doing what you can do now, and improving iteratively every time. Speaking of doing what you can do right now, how about hitting that like button for the YouTube algorithm if you liked the video? How about hitting that subscribe notification bell so you can stay within your mental space of digging videos on BTP Fusion? And while you're in an engaging mood, drop us a comment letting us know how you decided to stay within yourself, do what you can do, and improve iteratively during this corona crisis. We're all dying to know. And remember, a goal without a plan is a wish. A goal with a plan and no action is a wish list. Take action on your business and your finances using the power of technology. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.